Hey everybody, Brian here. So I just want to show you around this car here. This is a 2021 Hyundai Kona EV. I'm going to start off actually. So this car has done 70,000 kilometers. I'm going to start off just looking at the state of health. So I think on EVs, when we're selling them, I think it's going to be important to start telling people what the current state of the battery is. So this car starts off obviously from the factory at 100%. So it's currently reading 97.1% of its original capability. It's kind of a bit later in the evening, so I'll just kind of start off by going for a drive. This is the key, but I would tend to leave that in my pocket. It does lock and unlock the car and all that stuff. Most people though, they'd lock the car using that button or they'd unlock it, so it becomes keyless. If you're not familiar with automatic or electrics, then this part might be useful. To drive the car, you go and then you stop. It's two pedals if you're not used to automatic. So foot on the brake, start stop button here. And you get a start stop sequence, that's grand. And then safety belt, like you'd expect in any car. Okay. Drive the car, D for drive. It'll tell you up here as well in the center. R for reverse, P for park. So all I'm doing is toggling between D, reverse, park. That's pretty much it. To go, just tap the accelerator and the car will start moving. If you've not driven a car like this before, it's high off the ground without being big, if that makes sense. There's a big 10.25 inch screen over here on the left, so in your eye line it's grand because you can still use it but still see what's going on the road, and it's a dual split screen. Regen braking, so on the right hand side here, you see the paddle over here on the right. If I let that off, the car kind of freewheels. However, so you can see I'm just freewheeling. If I use the left paddle, I can actually hit the brakes. So I'm not actually touching the brake pedal, you'll see. All I'm doing is slowing down the car using the paddle, but it's the motor that's actually slowing me down. So when the motor's slowing down the car, the brake pads aren't, so the length of life on a brake pad in an EV or even a plug-in hybrid tends to be a lot longer than a regular car. When you're driving the car, you can also go for things like drive mode. So drive mode will have an impact on the range, but like it's essentially throttle position, and the air conditioning functionality gets reduced in favor of economy. But I'm just going to go for sport here for a sec. So the throttle sensitivity is just wild on these. So I should go just listen here for a sec. And you can see on the dash the level of acceleration in these cars. So these are 201 horsepower in a car that's not that heavy. They're crazy fast and they're great fun. So it's just, and for overtaking on the back road, sometimes you need a lot of power, and they're really good for that. They'll give you power to overtake in a position where you might not usually be able to in a normal car. And I don't mean in a crazy way, just sometimes there's very slow moving traffic and you need to go around them. It's brilliant for that. Okay, a few other things we might have missed on the test drive. So storage, heated seat driver, heated seat passenger, 3 stages, heated steering wheel, parking sensors on or off, handbrake is here, wireless charging and USB connector. Heating control is really straightforward. Speed up, slow down, warm or cold, where do you want the air to blow. And then we saw up here there's plenty of functionality, things like map, navigation, phone. You will have Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, but it does have to go through the USB. However, if you get a wireless kind of dongle or whatever, they're like 30 or 40 euros on Amazon. You can become wireless using that as the intermediary, so that works pretty well. And then in terms of charging, it'll give you kind of a map as to how far you can get on your current charge, I think, which is very clever. And then this one is currently 90% charged. So just really quick, DC charging and AC charging. AC charging will be from usually your house. So a 3-pin socket will probably give you about 2 kilowatts every hour. So if you use a 3-pin socket, there is a 3-pin one in there. So the blue one is the kind of heavier duty one, and then the 3-pin one is the box kind of in there. Anyway, a 3-pin socket's going to be like 2 kilowatts every hour, 64 kilowatt hour battery. 64 divided by 2 is a lot. 32 hours, crazy, you wouldn't do it, but anyway, some people do as a bit of an emergency at the start. But the house will flow from a charge point, about 1,500 euros in Ireland right now, get an SCAI grant of 300, so net about 1,200 euros for something tethered, which has its own cable built in, which is nicer. That's going to give you about 7 kilowatts every hour, so that's about 9 hours, something like that. And then public charging, 10 to 80% is always kind of a yardstick that manufacturers use when they're kind of promote, because I suppose up as far as 80% is the sort of fastest part of the charge cycle, and then it does slow down a wee bit after that. So 10 to 80% in something like this is going to be about 45 minutes. So in other words, you're garnishing about the bones of maybe 250 kilometers in about 40 minutes. Actually, more than 240 kilometers. The bones at 300 kilometers. Anyway, in terms of pragmatic stuff, like say just the boot size. So this is the boot. For me personally, I would probably, and I have had people drop the boot down into like the lower configuration, so you gain that much size. So it's handy for a little bit more space. But me personally, I prefer the kind of higher one because it's flatter when you're taking stuff in and out. The boot on Kona, it's not gigantic. It's not brutal, but there is bigger boots out there in terms of things like I-30 and all that kind of stuff. But it's the nature of the beast. This is a small, high, nimble car, so it kind of comes with the territory. The previous owner of this car, reasonably seldom people would have been in the back of the car. He would have done most of the driving by himself. So the leather is in excellent condition, 3 3-point safety belts, 3 headrests. Say if I was to sit behind myself, so let's say for example, I think that would be kind of, so if you look at where my knees are, that'd be a pretty kind of fair way to sit in the car. And if I sit behind myself at 6 foot, this is the type of legroom I'm going to have. So headroom here, legroom like so, and I have these kind of indentations here, which will give me a little bit more space. So it's okay. The other thing actually, just what I'm noticing on this one is that's the plastic's nice and tidy. Kangaroo pocket, armrest in through there, and then Isofix. Obviously child locks for windows, electrics for windows, child locks for the doors, child lockable electric. What am I talking about? Child locks for the door, electric windows, and child lockable electric windows. Seat is height adjustable. There's lumbar support for lower back. That steering wheel is height adjustable up and down and in and out. So you can get a really, really nice driving position. Pedals are actually aluminium as well. Usual stuff over here, electrics for windows and mirrors, and then the mirrors do fold in when you lock the car and they come back out when you unlock the car. And safety-wise, driver, passenger, side airbags, curtain airbags, anti-lock brakes, there's emergency brake assist, there's lane keep assist, all those kind of things. It's actually one of the first cars where, unfortunately, lane keep assist, you do have to turn it off, but there's one button, 3-second press every journey. It does turn it off if you don't like it. In terms of charging one of these, charge points at the front. This is for fast charging, and this is for AC charging. So this is the AC charging from your house and stuff like that, and this is the DC charging in the public, and that is not the sequence of how that works. So that one goes in, then that one goes in. From a confidence point of view, we have been selling these cars now for 2019 is when we start selling them. My experience so far is I've had some people in with about maybe 220,000 kilometers, and some of them now are kind of getting max charging. I'm going to go through some ranges and stuff like that. So some of those people are getting max ranges of probably 350 to 400. If the battery has had a bit of wear on it from maybe a lot of fast charging or whatever reason, they are into kind of the 350, high 300s max range. But I still have people with high mileage still seeing the right side of 400 kilometers as well. Anything that's got, like, we'll say 100 to 150,000 kilometers, we're seeing pretty much no degradation at all. So the batteries are performing well. If you do a bit of Googling, you'll see there was batteries replaced on these in 2019 and 2020, but it was a recall by LG and Hyundai. So the affected batteries were kind of identified, and the manufacturer came looking for the cars rather than vice versa, if that makes sense. So that was taken care of under warranty. So say a 2021 car, so if you buy something like this from us, you're looking at a warranty on the car for 12 months, and then you're looking at a warranty on the battery until 2029 or 160,000 kilometers. So on that car there's still 70 odd, so another 90,000 kilometers of driving in terms of the battery before it runs out of warranty. But we're seeing them going past those thresholds and continuing on. So sometimes I think it's a thing where people think when the warranty runs out, the battery literally stops the next day. Batteries can degrade, but engines go outside warranty and they don't just stop, if that makes sense. So we do have to accept that. Yes, I do believe that once we get to a point where, in terms of value, once the car gets to a point where the battery warranty is run out, whether it's mileage or whether it's year, the value does drop. So because it is a riskier proposition for a dealer, a riskier proposition for the next owner. Having said that, I've examined this with some people, and if you look at, say, the likes of, let's say this car when it's 9 years old. 9 years old, I've seen this, will say, and maybe 200,000 kilometers. Some people that have come into us and kind of, we've gone through this with them, and you look at the price of, say, a similar like i30, which is a similar kind of size car and segment and all that kind of stuff. And that car with 200,000 kilometers, the values aren't terribly different, we're finding, because what we find in Ireland now, if somebody's gone to 200,000 kilometers, the value of the car takes a fierce hit past 200. We all know cars go way past that. We see them on the continent, we see them in Europe, but the Irish buying public doesn't seem to like that. And what we also find is finance companies won't finance the cars when they've gone over 200,000 kilometers. So they are a tough sale. So we're finding pretty much everything once you get up to that kind of mileage is taking a bit of a depreciation anyway. Oops. So range is, come on, range and all that kind of stuff. This car would have been around 475 kilometers from the factory. Realistically these days, so it's about, as you can see, 395 at 90%, and it is November, so the way batteries work, they do better the warmer it gets. So a car like this, I'd expect in the really cold part of winter to be knocking out about 370-ish kilometers, 380 kilometers from a full charge, and I'd expect in the summer maybe about 440. And it's nothing to do with heating. Heating is very contingent. You turn on the heater and you can see the range has dropped to 360. But if I turn off the heater, oops, if I turn off the heater, it's gone again. So heating's a contingent thing, so it's not that. Batteries, the way they work, they charge faster and hold charge better in warm weather and vice versa in cold weather. And that's why you have a range difference between winter and summer. So at the price point this is, not far off kind of 20,000 euros. Value for money wise, if you drove the wheels off it for the next 5 years, and even if it was worth kind of 8 or 9 grand after that, it's still an awesome car. It's easy to run. It's the power on these cars is super awesome. You'll embarrass some people with kind of more powerful normal combustion cars, and they're not too big. They're easy to drive. You know, it's got things like a big reverse camera, parking sensors, that kind of stuff as well. And Kona is kind of, do a bit of googling, it's a well-established brand. So I mean, I don't mean Hyundai, I mean Kona. As an electric car, it was one of the first good bang for buck ones where you were getting like 400 kilometers plus at this kind of price point. When it was brand new, that was kind of 40,000 euros. So anyway, if you have a trade-in or anything like that, let us know and we'll give you some figures, or if you want financing, or if there's anything I've missed in the video in terms of ownership on something like this. But I think now you're getting into prices on these that are much lower risk when they're kind of closer to 20,000 euros. Anyway, so for me, as a second car in the house, I think these are a super no-brainer. Instead of having two combustion cars, it's fun to drive, it's easy to run, but also as, look, if you need a bigger car for family, then so be it. But as a main car in the house for maybe small family starting out or whatever, again, low frugal running costs and a nice car to drive. So very, very relevant. We did have a blip with EVs about 12-18 months ago in Ireland, where some people thought they were the most evil thing ever made, and some people probably still do, but that's really come and gone, and we're seeing kind of good demand on them. And that's not like a big sales pitch, because you might never ring me, so, or you might buy one somewhere else. So it's not like, I don't need to tell you that, but you'll see people driving them, you'll see them in your neighbourhood, you'll see them on the road, you can ask people that own them, you know. So anyway, if this one's of interest, Brian's my name, 086 843 1945. Give me a shout, because that's my job, to sell them. And I'll run through any details I can, and hopefully this gives you, you know, a feeling as to, is this car still a good, relevant second-hand buy? And if you disagree with me, let me know in the comments. If you agree with me, let me know in the comments. And thanks a million for watching.